Okay, everybody, we're going to move on to chapter 2 of our course. We're still in we're in the first unit, just part 2 or chapter 2. So we're on to earning an income. This is a great part of the course because we're going to look at different ways of how you can be paid when you're doing a job. And we'll look at, and then maybe that'll allow you to compare, what are some benefits to this version versus that version of pay. We'll also look at deductions, which is what are taken off your paycheck when there's taxes, there's different type of pension plans. So we're going to look at a whole bunch of things of basically, you go to work, how do you get paid, and how does that money end up in your pocket, and all the steps in between. So this is actually, like I said with the last unit, this is something that applies to all of us. It's really important math, and I think that it's a skill that you need to have because you have to know, where's my money going? How come I'm not getting this much versus that much? Anyway, the big ideas or the goals here, okay? We'll describe various methods of earning income, identify and give examples of how different methods of pay are used, determine hours of work from a timesheet, including overtime or double time and a half, determine gross pay with various methods of earnings, explain the difference between gross pay and net pay, determine deductions like CPP, IE, and taxes, determine net pay given deductions, describe it. So a lot of these right now may or may not mean anything to you, but we're going to do a lot of cool calculations that show you, that allow you to figure out where's your money going and how much do you have. Okay, we'll move on to 2.1, which is wages and salaries. So this is now where we're going to look at basically, how is this all going to work out? So there are some terms here. I don't really want to go over these too much right now. So I might just move down here to onto the fraction part. Remember that when I'm doing this, I'm going ahead with the understanding that our fractions are good to go. That you are with me. You know how to work with fractions. You've done my review package, or you remembered it all from junior high, etc., etc. Just want to show you here. Just remember when we are dealing, just remember how to go back and forth. Remember, let's say you had 29 over 10. That's an improper fraction. Remember, you can change it into a mixed number fraction. How many times does 10 go evenly into 29? Well, it goes in 2 times. And how much is left over? It's 9 over 10. Oppositely, if you wanted to go the opposite, let's say I gave you 2 and 9 over 10. That's that's a mixed number. How could you switch that over? Remember, you go 2 times 10, which is 20, and you add the top. That's 29, and leave the denominator the same. Just kind of a quick review. I'm not going to include any practice work for that at this point in time. Okay, let's go on to wages. Let's go on to figuring out how much do you make. Okay, now one type of wage or way of earning income is, I'll just read this to you. It says many jobs pay employees an hourly rate in which they get paid for the number of hours that are worked. Okay, so let's just say minimum wage is $10.20 an hour. Okay, so that means for every hour worked, a person would earn $10.20. Now, one thing that I'd like you to consider is, hourly rate. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Are there pros? Are there cons? Because you're going to see there are different ways of getting paid in this world. And some of them, no one system is perfect. Some people like one, some people like another. Maybe as we go through this, you can kind of think to yourself, maybe you can think of some pros and some cons that might creep up in regards to each system. Anyway, we'll just try some example questions. A person works as an electrician and earns $24.68 an hour. If it takes him 15 hours for one job, how much will he earn? Well, that's a pretty straightforward calculation. It's simply going to be $24.68, and you're simply going to multiply that by the 15 hours, and that's going to give you a grand total of $370.20. Okay, so for working 15 hours, that person makes $370. That's a good deal. Okay, we'll go on to example 2. This one just kind of, a backwards way. A person worked 34 hours cutting lawns. The gross income was $329.12. What was the hourly wage? So basically what you're trying to figure out here now is you want to figure out how much per hour of work. there's different ways of doing this. You might be able to go straight to this. You might go, well, it was $329.12 for a total of 34 hours of work. All you have to do in this case is go 329.12 divided by 24, and I'll do that for you quickly here, or 34 hours. That's $9.68 per hour. Okay, per hour or per 1 hour. That's a unit rate or a unit price, okay? Now, or unit rate, I suppose. Of course, you could have done our proportion method. You could have set it up like this. You could have gone, what do we know? We know it's 329.12 over 34. We want to know hourly wage. So how much is that for 1 hour? And we could have put our X right there and done the cross multiply and divide business. It's the exact same thing. It works every time. No big deal there. So, earning an hourly rate, the calculations, when they're like this, that's pretty straightforward and simple, and I don't think anyone has any problems with that. Okay, moving along. Now, time cards. Now, obviously, I think in a lot of cases this is going to be done electronically now, but you're still going to have to go in, like, let's say it's done with a computer or some type of like ID card that you swipe. Somehow your hours worked have to be accounted for. And no matter if it's a computer or not, you want to make sure that you keep track of this yourself. Just because, let's say someone has you walk in and they have a computer or they have a system, a good habit to get into if you're being paid by the hour is to keep your own records, because it is quite possible that you might think you worked 45 hours and a mistake is made somewhere, totally innocent, but they say you work 35 hours. So regardless of whether or not this exists in your world, you want to do this for yourself, for you know exactly how many hours you worked. Here we go. So this is a time card or time sheet. This person works as a cashier. So basically you want to figure out your total hours. So in the morning, it looks like, let's look at Monday there. Person comes in at 9, they leave at 11:45. So that's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Now, the one thing that you want to do here when you're looking at hourly wage or figuring this out, like I know that is 2 hours and 45 minutes. But you need to do this in terms of, you should do this in fractions. Now you see, when you think of a clock, okay, so here's the 12, the hour. Okay, so this is 1/4, this is the half an hour. So this is 15 minutes, this is 30 minutes, this is 45 minutes, and here's 60 minutes. So we're going around in an hour. So basically, if you start here and work this much, that is 1/4 of an hour. If you work from here to here, that's 30 minutes, that's 1/2 of an hour. If you work 45 minutes, that's 3/4 of an hour. So when you look at this person worked in the morning 2 hours and 45 minutes. The proper way to write that in the morning, okay, is going to be 2 3/4 hours in the morning. And in the afternoon, the person worked, let's see there, that's going to be 2 hours, 2 1/4 hours, okay? And it looks like this is actually pretty tight. I apologize for that. Maybe let me just try to rewrite this. I know that we're kind of running out of room here. But essentially, maybe I'll do it down here and I'll erase it. So I'm looking at Monday, okay? And I'm just going to do it down. I'll do it down here. So you can see that in the morning it was 9 to 11:45. That was 2 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes. Now, when you write that in fraction form, that should be 2 hours and 2 3/4 hours. Then I'm now looking here, okay, at this part. So that's 2 hours and 15 minutes. Now 15 minutes is 1/4 of an hour, so that's 2 1/4 hours. Okay, sorry, my screen keeps going here. So on that day, how many hours did this person work? Well, this kind of comes back to your ability to add fractions. So if you look at this, you have 2 3/4 plus 2 1/4. Well, I don't really want to get into the whole adding of fractions too much, except if you look at this, you look at the whole numbers here, the whole hours, the 2 and the 2, well, that's 4 right there. Okay, so we have 4 full hours. Then, if you have 3/4 plus 1/4, well, they have a common denominator, which means they can go together. So 3 plus 1 is 4/4. And what is 4/4? That is 4 divided by 4 is 1. So in total, this person worked 5 hours on this day. Okay? It's not the hardest math, and I don't want to get us all into the whole adding a fractions business again. Maybe what I'll do is I'll show you, we'll do Tuesday, and then I'll just kind of rapidly fill out the rest of the table here for you. So if we look at Tuesday in the morning, so we're right here, the person comes in at 8:45 and leaves at 10:45. That's nice because that's a perfect 2 hours in the morning. And now let's look in the afternoon. It looks like the person worked, that should be a total of 3.5 hours. So plus 3.5 hours. So in total, that should be 5.5 hours. So 5.5 hours. Okay, and then you go through this here, and I'm just going to fill this out because I have the answers here in front of me. So we have Monday was 5, Tuesday was 5.5, Wednesday is 6, Thursday is 5, and Friday was 5.5, I believe. So if I erase this now to kind of give us some more space. So they want to know here how many hours in total did the person work. Well, that's basically just adding everything up. So we have 5 plus 5.5 plus 6 plus 5 plus 5.5. Let's do our whole numbers here first. That's nice. So we have 5, 10, 16, 21, 26. Then we have to add, you have 1/2 plus 1/2, or that's like saying 30 minutes plus 30 minutes. So in total, we have 27 hours total of work. Now we'll figure out how much a person made. So it should be $15.85, that's the hourly rate, times 27 hours. That gives you a total of $427.95. Okay? So in this case, obviously, we had to, go through the timesheet. You had to figure out your portions of hours, put it all together. And this is something that you're going to want to do in your own real life. Now we'll come to the whole concept of overtime pay. Overtime pay is, in a lot of cases, it's a way people make a lot of money. So essentially, it's when you work more than your full-time allotment. And then once you work more hours, the rate that you get paid actually increases. So I'll give you an example here. So we'll read about overtime pay first. It says in many full-time jobs, a work week is 40 hours a week. Okay, so that's so essentially you have to work 40 hours. That's your regular schedule. That's what you get paid for. Okay, in some cases, if you work over the regular hours, you will get overtime pay, often time and a half or 1.5. We also can see a higher pay when you work on holidays if prearranged, which might result in double time and a half. So there are different scenarios here, everybody. So it is quite often, let's say a person, let's just pretend you made on your regular basis, I know this isn't probably true anymore, but you made $10 an hour. So you work your 40 hours a week, you would get $10 every hour. But when you go into overtime hours, you get 1.5 times pay, which means essentially you would get $15 an hour, and we'll show how to calculate that. Then there are cases like special holidays. There are times when the mass majority of people don't want to work. And in order to entice people to work, they actually will give them 2.5 times the pay. And you can imagine that goes up pretty quick. A common example might be having a hospital open on Christmas Day. Perhaps a lot of hospital staff don't want to work on Christmas Day. So in order to get them to come in on that day, they might actually give them higher pay. Okay? So what we'll do here is we'll show you an example. And the best part about this is once we do this one example, you'll be able to kind of apply this to many different scenarios, and it should work out pretty good. Okay, so a person works at a construction job, and looks like the work week is 37.5 hours at $15.82. He is paid time and a half for any time over 37 and a half hours. If he works 47 and 1/4 hours during 1 week, how much will he earn? Well, okay, let's go with that. So let's figure out the regular pay, the regular work week. Okay, so we'll call this here regular pay. So regular pay, that's the easy part because it is $15.82. How many hours was it? 37 and a half, which is 37.5. And I'll just fire that into my calculator here. And that gives you, let's see, that should be $593. $593.25. And keep in mind, I know I just switched there between a fraction and a decimal at this point right here, but remember, I'm going ahead with the kind of the notion that our fractions and decimals are okay. So this is our regular pay. I'm just going to change the color if I can, and I'm going to just circle that. We have to come back to this value in a little bit. I'm just going to kind of, just for we know that's separate and we got to do something with that. Then what we're going to do is go on to overtime pay. So I'll just make a little heading, overtime pay. When you look at overtime pay, the first thing you need to do is figure out how many hours did we do, how many hours was our overtime. So if you look at this, okay, it says if he works 47 and 1/4 hours during 1 week. So his total hours was 47, and now I'm going to change this. 47 and 1/4 is 47.25. 1/4, this is the decimal version of 1/4. So 47.25, that was the total. Let's take away his regular amount of hours that he always works, which is going to be 37 point, what's the decimal for 1/2? That's 0.5 or 50, doesn't matter. Now subtract that in your calculator, and that's going to give you 9.75 hours of overtime. That's how many hours he put in above and beyond his regular. So now we'll figure it out. Okay, so we have $9.75, okay, or sorry, $9, no, how about, let me get my head straight here. We have 9.75 hours. But what we don't have, though, is we don't have the rate. I mean, how much is this person going to get paid? Okay, so how do we figure out the overtime amount? So here's what you have to do. To figure out what your pay is per hour, you take the 1582 times it by, it says, time and a half. Time and a half is it says right here, multiply wages by 1.5. So take your 1582 times it by 1.5. So I'll do that for you right now. So that gives you 15.82 times 1.5, which is 2373. So that means for the overtime hours worked, this is the amount per hour. So to figure that out, we'll go 2373 times 975, which is $231.37 about. So how would you figure out the total pay in this case? Well, we have, okay, let's close that. We have this part right here. This is our overtime amount. This is our regular amount. So what you'd have to do is add these two values together to get your total amount of pay. And in this case, it should be about $824.62. So if you look at that, I just want to do a quick review of this question. The first thing you have to do is you have to figure out your regular pay. That's easy. Take your regular hours times your regular rate. Then you have to figure out how many hours of overtime did the person actually work. Okay, fine. Then you have to figure out, what is my overtime rate, or how much do I get paid per hour overtime? And what you do is you take your regular rate of pay and times it by the multiplier. 1.5, it could be 2.5. The question will tell you. Then you figure out your overtime pay and finally combine them together. Now, I wouldn't blame you if you want to watch that over again, but that's essentially how you will work out your overtime pay. And we'll do some practice with that now.